Yay, we're live! Hello, Yarn Live Season 2, what? Sorry, that was unscripted. Maybe that was bad.
No, it was fantastic.
It was! Yay! Thank you so much for joining the Yarn Life Show for your daily dose of fiber. Get tangled up in this fun, upbeat, educational channel that's dedicated to the hanks, the skeins, the balls, and the cake that we love most, and to the people who make most of them, because yarn is life. Hashtag true story. Season 2 is going to stream every Thursday at 11 my time, 2 Jess's time. She's over on the East Coast, so depends on whatever location you're in, where it's going to stream for you. So please subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our videos, and you'll never miss an episode.
Yes. So today's episode is sponsored in part by you because you're awesome. So check out our Yarn Life swag shop to pick up a token, tea, tote, or mug. I designed a mug. Yes. Someone please buy the mug. It's so cool. Just saying. Every purchase you make there not only gives you great products you'll love, it also helps us create more great episodes and bring on more amazing guests, because we know we love doing that. So you can find our shop link in the show notes section and the comments below, so make sure you guys check that out.
Awesome. So today we are launching Season 2, Episode 1. It's been a little while, but we are so happy to be back. The debuted episode for today in the Yarn Life Season 2. I'm sorry. This is our debut episode.
This is our debut.
I don't know why there was so much confusion in the way I was saying that. We've basically taken a year-long break, but we are very, very excited to be back because the Yarn Live show has been a really fun way for Jess and I to feature topics that we're really passionate about, and also to chat with people who are making the most out of their yarn lives.
Oh yeah. So if you're watching live or on the replay, comment on this video to let us know that you're here, and we'll give you a shout out. So to recap, because like Selena said, it's been a year, a whole year. So Selena, how have you been this past year? What have you been up to? What's going on in Selena land?
Well, the reason I love that question is because it really is for our audience. For those of you who don't know, Jess is my work wife. We talk every single week, twice a week, with very few exceptions. There are only a few times, I think, in the past year and a half that we haven't chatted every week.
Yeah.
So you know everything about me, but for the benefit of our audience, I love it. I'm staying busy with the American Crochet Association. You and I have had so many conversations about how that's developing and how that's growing. I love what I've been doing with Selena Baca Crochet. I've been teaching a lot more. Like I did another Craftsy class, since our I know of the Yarn Live show. So which is another reason we kind of took a pause from this, is that we just had so many other developments we were just taken care of in the yarn world that we just put this on pause. So, Jess, I already know everything about you, but what have you been up to this last year, just so our audience knows?
Oh, probably too much, as usual. But my main focus has been the Yarnpreneur Society and Academy, and I've been spending a lot of time over there kind of making more classes come together, and we're finishing up our success path in the next few weeks. So our 12th course is coming out. I've been doing a lot of work over there, just getting things the way I want them, because I'm not I'm a tweaker.
Yep.
I will tweak until it is perfect. It is exactly the way I want it. So I've been spending a lot of time over there, building our team and just building what I hope is a great product. So that's been my fun year for the most part.
We've been, oh my gosh, the amount of work, for what you see on the surface, that's probably only 10, maybe 5% of what we're actually doing behind the scenes. So it's inspiring to see everything you're accomplishing, lady. You inspire me.
You too. Aww, work wife.
I know. That's why I'm so glad that we're doing Season 2 Yarn Life. So today I love this topic. This was...
Yeah, I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, I love this topic. There's some good, bad, happy, and sad in this, but I'm only bringing the good. I'm only bringing the good. So
Positivity.
right? Today's topic is 5 reasons, and I only came up with top 5 reasons crocheters specifically should visit their local yarn stores. Local yarn stores are typically, like I said, there may be some controversy here. Sometimes it's a heated topic among crocheters. So we're here to kind of talk about why that may be. So if you are viewing this and you would like to share how you view your local yarn store as a crocheter, if you have any experiences you want to share, feel free. You're more than welcome. Crocheters don't feel welcome sometimes. They don't really feel like their craft is served. They feel like they don't know enough about the yarns that are represented in these shops, and they feel like they don't really understand the prices. If any of that speaks to you, or if you have anything that you want to expand on that, let us know in the comments.
So I'm curious about this one because there was a while that there was a local yarn store about 20-25 minutes from me, and then they closed down. And I typically had those feelings going in, and I started going in as a crocheter, and then, I started learning to knit, and then, kind of expanded into knitting as well. But I do remember having that feeling of like kind of walking in, feeling out of my depth, but also not getting any like feedback for my craft, like I didn't see any crochet anything anywhere. And I thought that was very interesting. And this was, kind of before I had a strong community to talk to and to kind of reach out to. And so I'm really curious about this topic. So what is our number one reason that crocheters should visit their local yarn stores?
Yeah, so this is entirely an opinion piece. These are just my opinions, and they're in no particular order. But reason number 1 that I think crocheters could totally benefit from visiting their local yarn stores is that they can get help with Ravelry. And a lot of people just kind of dismiss that in general. They're like, I can do Ravelry myself at home. But now that my particular town opened 2 yarn shops just this past summer, I've been visiting them more so, and I've been talking to them more so. And something that I just kind of heard a lot of just from spending time in there is that the yarn shop owners were really promoting Ravelry just because they love it as a resource. And a lot of people don't know what an amazing resource it is. So at home, you may be on Ravelry, you may not be, but I guarantee you're probably not using it to your full advantage. So what I love about what our local yarn shops are doing is they're promoting Ravelry more so because it's this amazing ecosystem of you come into a shop as a crocheter or as a knitter, but as a crocheter, it's what we're talking about. And you have any kind of question, yarn related, pattern related, relating to people who publish patterns, anything like that. And I guarantee you the conversation is going to lead to Ravelry in some way. And what that means holistically is that Ravelry is an amazing database that we really can get more out of. But if you're sitting at home and you're just by yourself and you're on Ravelry and you're like, I feel like I could get more from this, but I don't really know what that means. I guarantee you your local yarn shop is going to be totally open with maybe helping you do searches, helping you tag things, helping you find things to pair with yarns or what you can make with certain yarns. So first and foremost, I think it's an amazing resource that you could totally get some one-on-one, at the very least, some better tips, some better ways to utilize Ravelry.
That's interesting to me because I don't think I would have thought of that. Although I actually have been in yarn stores where people have either asked questions about Ravelry or it's come up or the shop owner has kind of helped someone in that realm. And I would agree that most of us, even if we are on Ravelry, are not even scratching the surface of, what it can do and what it's capable of. And I think it reminds me a little bit of a good librarian. You can go to them and they'll do a little bit of research or some references, like they'll show you kind of what they found. And I think Ravelry serves as a little bit of that too. And sometimes you need someone with a different perspective or a different background to help you search through and find exactly what it is you're looking for. Because I've done that with friends before. I've been like, I have this yarn and I've been searching on Ravelry for 3 days and I don't know. And they'll just be like, how about this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes you just need that other perspective.
Absolutely. I mean, just, for a Ravelry 101, or maybe you don't have Ravelry and you just kind of want to talk to a person about how it could benefit you or why it could benefit you. Another point I wanted to make is the last few local yarn shops I've gone into. I mean, I've been to a few in Portland because I live in Oregon. And again, I've been to some just here in my hometown. And every single one of them has some kind of computer in shop just so they can access Ravelry. So again, that's these yarn shops kind of on the front line of really making utilize that tool. So they're there for you, crocheters, if you need it.
Nice. Awesome. All right. So now we've gotten our feet wet.
Yep.
What is the number 2 reason? What's up next?
Yeah. So again, no particular order, but think about this. As a crocheter, you may only, go to certain places to get yarn. And if you're only going to Joann's, if you're only going to Michael's, if you're only going to Hobby Lobby or Walmart or specific places like this because you feel that as a crocheter, that's where you get yarn, you should totally check out your local yarn shop because you can see some really different kind of commercial yarn in person. So, Jess, have you ever heard of malabrigo, madelinetosh?
Yes.
Yes.
Madelinetosh is my favorite.
Everyone says that.
Oh.
Every knitter that I know of knows about madelinetosh. Every knitter, right? But in crocheters, we may have heard that in passing, but we're like, I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what it is. So
is it a person? What's going on? Yeah.
Is it a dance? I don't know what this is. So that's just one type of yarn that knitters in general kind of go nuts for, right?
Yeah, definitely.
A little bit. So crocheters, if you want to see what the hype is, or if you just kind of want to see these other, and that's a very commercial yarn, is it not? Madelinetosh?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So sometimes as crocheters, we have our blinders on about what a commercially available yarn is. But there is a whole other world. Maybe they're not mass produced to the level that some of our favorite yarns are, like Lion Brand and Red Heart. But they're still available on a wide scale, and you could totally go check them out in person.
I think that's fantastic because I'm one of those people that will buy yarn based on the color.
Yeah.
And pretty much nothing else.
Yeah.
And you'll pick up like a skein of something in one color, and especially if it's hand dyed, it's expensive. And then you're like, well, what am I going to do with one skein? But anyway, that's a whole different issue. Madelinetosh is one of those brands that has such yummy colors that I'm constantly drawn to them. And yeah, it is, there's something about like seeing it in person. It's never the same as looking at it on a screen because of course you can buy online, but you can't squish it through your computer. They haven't come up with that technology yet.
Which number 3, Jess?
When they do, yeah.
Segue.
So, yeah, let's go into number 3 because I do think that's a good segue. So what is reason number 3, Selena?
So reason number 3, in addition to just seeing these yarns that maybe you've only heard of, like unicorns, you can actually learn more about them. You can feel them, you can touch them, you can experience them in person. So I love what you were just saying about how it's really hard to just see something on a computer screen and decide if that's something you want to buy. So I am the analogy queen. You know me. I talk in analogies all the time. Would you confidently buy a perfume online, Jess?
No, I've never been able to do that. Mm-hmm. I've gotten close just because of the convenience, but I've never been able to go through with it because I was always afraid I would hate it.
I have no idea. I mean, and I'm going to put yarn kind of in that same category. The same category as food, the same category as perfume, all of these things that require more of your senses. And I think yarn is one of them. So if you venture into your local yarn shop, you're going to not only see yarns that maybe you've only ever heard of in the knitting world or see other kinds of commercial yarns, but you can actually experience them and learn more about them in person. So,
AKA squish them.
Squishy. Yeah. Is it squishy? Is it scratchy? Like, how dense is it? What is the weight? Also, and I have to say this too, also, you can totally ask questions in a local yarn store. So a lot of times as crocheters, I'm guilty of this too, and I think it just requires a little bit of education. You may look at a yarn and you're like, why is this $27 for this one hank? You can totally just look at the label and have a conversation with the local yarn shop owner and be like, I don't really understand what merino wool is or why Angora is expensive. And I mean, yarn is their life just as much as anyone else's. They can totally help you through that process. Well, that's Angora. That means it's not a huge commodity, but feel how soft it is. These are the qualities that it has. You know, there's this Angora farmer out in Ireland, and that's who made this, and blah, blah, blah. And she hand dyes it, and the rabbit's name is Bob. Like, there's a whole backstory sometimes. And it's like, wow. Like, now I kind of understand why there's this price tag with this. So that's reason number 3, is that you can learn more about the fibers. You can actually feel them in person, and you can get a little bit of education on what this particular brand is or what makes that brand or that type special.
I love that, because I do think that I witnessed kind of the transformation in myself, or the things that I started learning about when I started knitting. And I think to each his own. I think everyone should crochet and knit with whatever they most enjoy. But I think there's kind of either a stigma or a stereotype that crocheters only know how to crochet or only can crochet with like acrylic yarn. And I think for some people, they might want to venture out and explore. I remember when I first, I would start venturing into local yarn stores or would go to festivals, and I'd see sock yarn everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I was so fascinated with sock yarn because at that point I was knitting, but I was knitting like very basic, like a rectangle scarf. Like that's as far as I got. But the sock yarn, like I loved the colors that it came in, and it was always so squishy and soft, and it was.
Oh, we lost you.
Oh, am I back?
Lost you for a minute. You said it was squishy, and then there was nothing.
Yeah, so it was made with superwash merino, which was something that I had never encountered before and didn't know what it was. So I started learning about sock yarn, and obviously for crocheters, sock yarn is a little bit harder to use or to come by sometimes. And for knitters, if you don't knit socks, there are plenty of people that use sock yarn for other things, but it's the majority of what you kind of want to use it for. But anyway, my point being that when you start venturing out, you start learning more, and you start kind of exploring all of these different corners and avenues and aspects of the yarn world that are interesting and fun to learn about. And I think that's one of the exciting things about living the yarn life, is all of these new things that you get to experience and learn about.
Right.
So we have 2 more. And I'm curious about this next one, because I think this is the one that a lot of crocheters are afraid to approach their local yarn store about. Yes. So let's talk number 4. What is our number 4 reason?
Yeah, so my number 4 reason is that you can totally get help with your project if you need help. Now, maybe your local yarn store owner is not a crocheter, but I guarantee you within their audience, they could find a crocheter. Maybe they have a crochet group. Maybe you could start a crochet group. So I think it's a great resource that if you need help with a project, or if you have like a technique question, or how to do something, or how to do a stitch, am I reading this pattern right? All day long, I'm telling you, I'm spending a lot of time in my local yarn shops. And I constantly hear, my local yarn shop owner, people come in, they're like, I have this pattern. What is it? What does join with your favorite technique mean? And she's like, oh, well, that's not a specific technique. It just means that you can use any technique and blah, blah, blah. So, they're really, really knowledgeable with things like that. So, can you go in there as a crocheter and be like, look, I've looked on YouTube, but I just like people. Is there any way you can help me with X, Y, or Z? And that's what they're there for. They totally love to help the people come in to make it feel more like a community.
Awesome. I do think that that's part of what's cool about local yarn stores is that community.
Yeah.
You'll get the people who come in every week, or the person who works behind the counter, whether it's the owner or someone else,
Yeah.
who's always there to kind of say hey, and that you're not walking into like just some random store. Like, you're walking into a place where everyone who's there, like, you have something in common with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's really cool.
So back to that, I mean, the flip side of the project question is maybe you walk into a local yarn store and you pick up yarn and you're like, I love this. It is $27 a hank, but I don't know what to do with it. I've also seen my local yarn shop owners go, let's go to Ravelry. Let's find this yarn on Ravelry. Let's do the search function to where it uses one skein in this colorway or not. Maybe you only want to see projects in this colorway. And there are so many people on Ravelry that post their projects that you can totally find patterns and inspiration. Like, oh, everyone has used this yarn, or everyone who has used this yarn who only had one skein, they've made this hat, or you can make this hat, or, oh, look, here's a pillow that someone made, or here's a totally cool scarf. Or you can kind of just go through for inspiration. But again, that's that project help that I was telling you about. Maybe you have a specific project and you need help, or maybe you're looking for your next project. They will totally help you with that.
Awesome. Nice. All right. So last one, and I think this kind of ties into a few of our other things, kind of ties it all together in a neat little bow. So what is our fifth reason that our crocheters should visit their local yarn stores?
Yeah. So the fifth reason, last but not least, I think that it's all about getting education and community within your community, creating this sub ecosystem for crocheters. So again, maybe as a crocheter, and I'd love to read the comments, I'd love to hear what your experiences are. Maybe as a crocheter, you're like, no, my local yarn store is only for knitters. Maybe you are the crocheter that could bring crochet to that yarn shop. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe you teach, maybe you don't teach, maybe you have something to share, maybe you're just there to learn. But if you're there looking for community and for education, I guarantee you there's others like you. Or you could be the one who kind of forms that. And again, it's a yarn shop. I mean, a common misconception is that certain yarns are only for knitting and certain yarns are only for crochet. And that is just, it's baloney. So the yarn shop is there for people who knit, crochet, who weave, who felt, who do whatever it is they want to do with yarn, who just collect, because some of us just collect yarn and don't do anything.
Yes.
So I think that your local yarn shop can be whatever it is you would like it to be, or you need it to be as a crocheter, but you may be the person who is being vocal about it. There may be lots and lots and lots of crocheters in your area. And they just need the first person to go in there and say, hey, I'd love to have a local Stitch and Bitch, or hey, I'd love to see crochet lessons, or hey, I'd love to teach crochet lessons. So you may be the one who starts it, but you can totally start something like that and have crochet education at your local yarn shop and have community at your local yarn shop.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's, I don't think we should ever discount the fact that even if you feel like the local yarn store is more knitter friendly, no owner is ever going to say, no, I don't want you to bring more business in my door, like that's kind of silly. So I think you being the catalyst could always be super, super cool. And I think it reminds us that we are all part of this yarn life community, and we all love squishing it and playing with it and knitting it and crocheting. But it's a yarn store in about an hour and a half from here. And they have an entire room filled with spinning wheels and weaving looms. And I am fascinated whenever I go in there because I do a little bit of weaving, but I don't spin at all. But I love to watch people spin. And there's always like 5 or 6 people in there just like hanging out. And I think that's the coolest thing, because they sell looms and they sell spinning equipment, but you can also just kind of hang out in there and chill and practice your craft. And there's people sitting on the couch knitting, and so that community is really, kind of what we're all looking for, I think.
Absolutely. And most yarn shops that I've gone into, it's not just a storefront. They really encourage community. And that's why you see things like couches or comfy chairs or coffee.
Yeah.
Because they want people to come in and not only, get yarn, but they want them to come in and stay and learn and grow. And they really do a lot to encourage that. Most of them do. So take advantage, crocheters.
Yes. All right. Well, let's see if we have any questions coming through. I see Simone is here. Darlene is here. Selena's here. Oh, yeah, we knew that.
Present.
Let's see. Simone said her local yarn store is a 3-hour drive. Oh, no. Maybe you have to move.
Right? Move to within 3 miles.
Right? She also asked, do they use Ravelry to help categorize their inventory? That would make searches easier. I don't know that I've ever heard of a local yarn store doing that.
It would be my perception, and I'm just guessing, it would be my perception that most local yarn stores may not do that, only because they already have their own point of sale system. So I don't see them doing that extra. I love that Ravelry has that feature where you can stash your yarn, which is essentially you're cataloging in a database all of the yarn that you have. But it is very time consuming, and it's not something I started. So it'd be something that I'd have to put time into and then kind of upkeep. So I'm going to say that most probably don't, but they do have their own system internally that you just walk in the door and they'll tell you exactly what they have and how much of and what they can get.
Yeah, awesome. Ruth also came in to say hi. Let's see. I don't see any other questions. I think everyone is just really enjoying the fact that we're back.
I know.
I know I am.
I have to apologize, guys. I know that our technology was a little goofy today. This was supposed to stream live on YouTube, and that flopped a little bit. So hopefully you guys enjoy this streaming here live in our group, which is available on Facebook. So it looks like maybe this is the way we're going to stream stream for season 2 is right here in our Facebook group. And then it'll just kind of transfer over to YouTube. So it'll be available in both places after the live, but it looks like it will stream live here in the group.
Awesome.
That's right. All right, guys. So what is next? What's next? Well, that concludes today's episode. We would love to hear what you think. So again, whether you're watching live or on the replay, please just leave us a comment, thoughts, comments, feedback, questions, anything like that. We would love to make this a conversation. Now, please, again, join us for episode 2 of 10. We're going to have 10 episodes in season 2 next Thursday. And we're going to outline 5 things that you can make for your next or your very first craft show. 5 things that we think could be very successful for you to try.
Awesome. All right. So remember, today's episode is sponsored in part by you. I always feel like I'm on PBS when I say that. Thank you to our viewers. Please check out Yarn Life Swag to pick up a token tee, tote, or mug today. Every purchase you make there helps us to create more great content, more episodes, and bring on even more amazing guests. So thank you guys so much. Find our shop link in the show notes section and our comments below. I'm going to do that YouTube thing that everyone does.
They do it. Yeah. All right, everyone. Jess, this is so good to do this with you again. Thank you. And thanks.
Thank you.
Who was joining us here live for this episode of the Yarn Life Show for your daily dose of fiber. Until then, we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Peace.